Good day! I'm Raylan Badenas.
I'm Divina Bandong.
I am Catherine Espinosa.
I am Ironita Jiman.
And we are proud to present our research study entitled Utilization of Instructional Materials in its Effect on the Academic Performance of Grade 12 General Academic Strand Students at Brooks Point National High School.
It is universally acknowledged that textbooks and instructional materials are fundamental essential to education. They are fundamental essential to education because they are the primary tools that schools use to provide students with the access to knowledge and skills they are expected to learn. According to EN 2006, instructional materials are all forms of information carriers which can be used to record, store, preserve, transmit, concretize, or retrieve information for the purpose of teaching and learning. So the primary purpose of teaching and learning process is to bring up significant change in the behavior through active participation and critical thinking of the learners. This cannot take place without the availability and proper use of the school materials and other needed resources. The utilization of instructional materials is indispensable in the world of academics. The teachers and students needed such materials for them to be able to understand the concepts as easy as it could be. Therefore, the purpose of this study is to identify the different instructional materials being used by the students and to find out if there is a relationship between the amount of instructional materials being used by the respondents and their academic performance.
2012 supported that instructional materials are very significant learning and teaching tool. In relation to that, according to the study conducted by TD 2016 revealed that instructional materials are the key to teachers and students' performance. Based on Kisumbing 2018, instructional materials is a good factor for students toward academic performance. Learning materials does not only help the teacher in instructing, but these materials could help and make the students engage themselves more in their class. Figure 1 presented the research paradigm. The paradigm shows the relationship between the independent variable, which are the school's different instructional materials like visual aids, books, LCD projector, computer, room, library, and laptop, and independent variable, which is the academic performance of the grade 12 general academic strand students at Brooks Point National High School.
This research aims to analyze the relation between utilization of instructional materials and its effect to academic performance of the grade 12 general academic strand students at Brooks Point National High School. Specifically, it sought to answer the following questions. First, what are the instructional materials that are being used by the grade 12 general academic strand students? Second, what describes the academic performance of the respondents? Third, how does instructional materials contribute to the students' academic performance? Fourth, is there significant relationship between the amount of instructional materials used and the academic performance of the students?
The focus of this study is the 187 randomly selected general academic strand students that may came from Gas A, Gas B, Gas C, Gas D, Gas E, Gas F, and Gas G. The researchers used Sloven's formula with the marginal error of 5% to determine the number sample needed in the study. A random population sampling has been done to achieve an accurate object and unbiased result of this research. The researchers have distributed printed questions to the respondent depending on their vacant time to avoid distraction of classes. Printed survey using the researcher made question containing close-ended and question and Likert scale.
For these findings in a statement of the problem number 1, what are the instructional materials that are being used by grade 12 general academic strand students? Conclusion, most of the students use visual aid.
Statement of the problem number 2. What describe academic performance of the respondent? Conclusion: most the respondent has a general weight average and between 81 to 85.
In statement of the problem number 3, how does the instructional material contribute to the student's academic performance? Conclusion: computer trains respondents to be technologically inclined learners of the 21st century. However, there is an insufficient amount of computers in the laboratory that is accessible all the time. So, conclusion: the school's library is free from any possible distraction, which helps students to maintain their focus. In contrast, the school's library is not an ideal place for group study. Conclusion: visual aids grow an accurate image in their mind when they see and hear properly, but some students get bored when their teachers use visual aids in presenting topics in class. Conclusion: projector is a helpful tool in reporting, for the students don't feel the need to use the traditional way. However, the school has an insufficient number of projectors and is available whenever that they need it. Conclusion: book makes students interested in their subjects. Conclusion: laptop provides beneficial help in terms of doing school-related tasks.
For the statement of the problem, number 4, is there a significant relationship between the amount of instructional materials used in academic performance of the students? Conclusion: there is a weak positive correlation between the two variables, which means that an increase in the amount of instructional materials also cause an increase in their academic performance, but in a weak manner. Therefore, we are accepting the alternative hypothesis.
Generally, it is recommended that the school's administration along with the faculty should discuss about the instructional materials that are insufficient and should invest in long-term assets that could benefit them in the long run.